Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Mark and Mitch Make a Scientology Film. Hey Mitch,
Hey, we're back.
we're back. We've got new digs too. It looks like you've got a new setup there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I covered that on my channel yesterday. This is a I call it the sound blanket fort. It's like a blanket fort, and I did it to I did it to record my audiobook because it's actually giving great quality audio recording. So that's what we're doing.
Nice,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I made a little video about it. It's about 30 seconds long. We could take a look at that later if you want.
Okay, perfect.
This kind of reorient because I know a lot of these are, there's a few, my 3 or 4 subscribers that I still have left. They've already seen it, so you'll
Yeah,
keep it
okay.
first.
Well, we're back, and for those of you who are new to the series or new to the channel, Mitch and I worked at Golden Era Productions. I worked there as a Sea Org member, and Mitch worked there as a professional director that was hired by Scientology. And we shot all of Scientology's internal training films. And I
Yep.
actually put a link in the description, or in the description, I put a full list of all of the films that we shot and all of their numbers and their names, so you can kind of keep track of it there. And I've also updated all of the past episodes that we've done to include that full list, so you can kind of see which ones we have covered and which ones we still need to cover. And the film that we're going to cover today is called, it's a technical training film. It's called EM10 PC Indicators. And we shot this one at the INT base, and we shot it at the international headquarters of Scientology, Golden Era Productions in Gilman Hot Springs, California. And we shot this one, correct me if I'm wrong, we shot this one in the gym, the small studio, right?
You are not wrong.
Okay, we shot, and this film was actually shot, I want to say this film was shot 3 different times. It was shot before we shot it. Somebody else had
Oh,
shot
okay.
it.
Then 3. Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a really, really bad version shot before we shot it, which, as all of the films, I want to say that all the films that were shot before we shot, we redid them in some form or another, whether digitally or just reshooting the entire film.
Well, there there was, to be specific, there was, of the 26 main films
Yeah,
that you're referring to, 7 of them by 1990 when we showed up, 7 of them had not been done.
yeah,
So we did them all. Plus, we did the 7 that they could never get done.
that's right. And
Yeah.
those were due to whatever limitations of it was like the Star Wars trilogy. They couldn't do those films until the technology was available.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them to
It
be
was
able to
like
do
it was like I read Steven Spielberg, saying when he was presented with Jurassic Park, he said, "If you can show me a believable dinosaur, I'll do it." And then they showed it to him, and he said, "I'll do it."
Yeah,
So it was kind of like that, the technology. But if they had all the technology in the world, they wouldn't have been able to do it. They
yeah,
just
that's true as
yeah.
well. They
So
didn't
they
have
weren't waiting for the technology. They were waiting for somebody to come along who knew what the hell they were
Yeah,
doing. So
they blamed it on the technology, but it really was a skills situation there,
yeah.
technical skills as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, if you go, well, this is a little bit of an aside, but it's definitely related. It wasn't even so much, from my understanding, as the technical skills. Back when Hubbard first started the crew, and he had that little 16-year-old camera boy
David
shooting camera.
Miscavige.
Yeah, right, that guy. Yeah, David Miscavige shooting camera. Back then, and they were out in La Quinta, and Hubbard had just come back from Sparks, Nevada, where he like hightailed it because the FBI showed up in LA and Washington D.C. So he's like, I'll go to Nevada and hang out. He calls the boys up and McScavige and those guys. He says, "Hey, get ready. I'm gonna come. We're gonna make some films." They totally bombed. The films were horrible. So Hubbard decided that it was a spiritual deficit that they had. That he decided the reason they couldn't make films is they were spiritually broken. And
Yes.
so he invented a little thing called superpower. That's actually how that came into be.
Yeah, and the false purpose rundown, and
Yeah,
the key to
yeah,
life, and
yeah,
the life orientation course,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
purification rundown, and
yeah.
most of the bottom part of the Scientology bridge to total freedom
That's true.
are remedies that L. Ron Hubbard was working up to somehow make it so these people could understand what he wanted in order to shoot these films. That literally
Yeah,
is
no, it
the
was,
origin story of Golden Era Productions and the
yeah,
lower part of the Scientology
yeah,
training.
they're totally like hooked together, and he blamed it at, I don't know a better term than a spiritual deficit. He just kept trying to, and they spent so many years doing exactly what he said, and
Hmm.
he added to a lot of the training, like he did create materials for training people to make films. They spent a couple of decades, or at least 15 years, doing everything that he said, and it was an abysmal failure.
Yeah.
And so then some bright people came along.
We also should note that of those, a lot of those, all of the films that he personally, L. Ron Hubbard personally directed and shot these films with David Miscavige as his cameraman, we redid those films as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah. One of
So,
the last films to be redone was, the biggest, most important, quote unquote, one they did. But that's a whole other. We're going to get to all that. So let's dive into PC Indicators.
absolutely.
I want to just start by saying this was without a doubt the most boring film that we shot in terms of shooting. It was a boring film, period. But because it was all on one set, and the set was like that background that I used to have, it was just blue. It wasn't, turd brown,
Yeah.
and there was two actors, a male and a female, and one camera angle. That was the whole film. I mean, it was only 10 minutes long, but it was just like.
Now remind me again who we used. Did we use, was this Kelly Daniels or?
Yeah, the time that I remember, of
Yeah.
the two times we did it,
Yeah.
I remember Tate Rupert and Denise Duff.
That's right. Denise.
Yeah. And if you don't know Denise, she's on TikTok. She doesn't do anything with Scientology. She does skincare and lifestyle
And horror
then,
movies.
yeah, and horror movies. So she doesn't even do much with the horror movies on social media, unless I
Okay.
guess she's right in the middle of one. And then if you could also check out her daughter on Instagram. What is Paris? What is her name on Instagram? She's amazing. She's a model, and she's not in Scientology. If she was, and Osa saw her Instagram,
They would be,
she
they would freak out.
They would, yeah, they would.
Yeah, I don't even know. I was gonna say we could put a link in the description, but I'm not gonna put a link to
Yeah,
because it's might be not safe for work material. But
some of it, is quasi safe. I would say quasi safe.
yeah, it
Yeah,
would be
almost.
at least pushing the boundaries of some people who
Yeah.
clicked on it.
Yeah.
But okay, so
Well, you're a
Tate
good man for recognizing those boundaries, Mark.
Yes, Tate Rupert. Tate Rupert. Oh, somebody say my volume is low. I'll turn it up a little bit here.
I guess mine's okay though.
Yeah, everybody says yours is great.
Awesome.
There we go. It's all good. People,
Okay, good. I'll just
people
back up a
comment,
little
and then I
bit.
get excited. But I can hear myself fine, and I can hear you fine. So I think
Yeah, and I can hear you fine, and I can hear me fine. So
perfect.
who cares about the people at home?
Yeah, well, they'll figure it out either way.
Yeah.
Everybody in there is saying it's fine, so we're good. Anyway, so we've got Tate Rupert and Denise Duff, and we're
Right.
just literally shooting them against a blank backdrop. And
Oh, it was nicely painted blue
yeah,
backdrop.
like
but
what do we call it? A modeled backdrop? A
modeled. But we don't. Yeah, it's like kind of limbo, nowhere. Mottled, painted is what are they? They're a bunch of painting terms. Scumbled. You get all these.
Just
These.
painted with a sponge, a big sponge.
Yeah, basically a big sponge. So it has some texture.
And then, and so then what? This is based off so when you're doing a counseling session in Scientology, and you're the auditor, you're the counselor, and you're interviewing or you're asking questions of the person getting the counselor, that's called a pre-clear. That means they're not yet clear. And so whenever you're in Scientology and you're getting counseling and you haven't yet made it to clear, you're called a pre-clear. And then once you become clear, you're called a pre-OT. And that's sort of how they refer to people within the Scientology
Right.
matrix. And
Right.
and this film is called PC Indicators, and this film is based off of a Hubbard bulletin that's called PC indicators. And every single indicator is listed in that bulletin. And so that's what we shot in the film, is the person
Right.
acting out that indicator. So
Yeah.
should I?
Yeah. We'll bring it up in a second. Yeah. Go ahead
Okay.
and bring it up. How many were there? I don't remember offhand.
How many indicators?
Yeah. Like, because each
Well,
indicator would have been a shot in the
yeah.
film.
Let me just pull it up here. If I get a
My
little
favorite. Yeah.
lighter.
Anyway, my everybody has their favorite.
So bad indicators. Oh yeah. So there's good indicators and there's
Right.
bad indicators. And this bulletin is, you can see there's a lot of verbiage in
Right.
Hubbard bulletins. These are just all the references that this is based on from L. Ron Hubbard. And then you can say he does indicators, definition and use, to direct attention to, point or point out, show, and an indicator, a person or thing that indicates. And then it says an indicator is a condition or circumstance arising in a session, or before or after it for that matter, which indicates whether the session or case is running well or badly. It is something one observes. And then it has a list of all of these bad indicators.
Right.
And it
Now,
looks like,
I'm sorry. Let me just, before you leave that first part,
yeah,
a couple of things I'd like to say. There's the word obnosis is in there, right?
yeah, it's right here. It's right
I'd
on
like
the
to
top of the
share that
second page.
word with this general public.
Perfect.
It's one of the kind of ridiculous bits of nomenclature that gets made up by L. Ron Hubbard as a way of sort of being scientific and sort of suggesting that his technology is so significant that he had to make up words to encompass it. And they're just kind of word salad-y kind of things. So
Yeah.
I think there's a definition there, isn't there?
Yeah, it says obnosis means observing the obvious. It is something you do with your eyes and your meter. Indicators are used to program the case. Good indicators mean keep it going. Bad indicators mean correction must be done. You have to be able to see them, know what they are, and write them down in the worksheets when they occur. So
yeah, but in either case, they also mean the guy's going to be spending more money.
yes.
Keep it going means get more money.
Bad indicators means he needs
do
to
something else.
pay
Yeah.
for something else to make it go
Yeah.
better, and then
Yeah.
pay more money again when it goes better.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
it looks like there's about 50 bad indicators,
Wow.
and there's 29 good indicators.
So
So
we did 79 separate scenarios.
yeah, so that's
Of course,
exactly what I
each
was
had to
going to
be
say.
perfect.
Yeah, we
Uh,
literally had to shoot this list for each thing of, and I don't think we did. I think we did some with the female actress and then some with the male actor.
Yeah, in the script. Now remember, Hubbard turned this into a script, right? And so
Yeah.
in the script, he indicated which was male and which was female. And
That's right.
there's, I don't have, nobody has the script. We don't have the film, but there's definitely some gender bias. Like you could kind of
Yes.
tell, like he didn't want people saying, well, these are female good indicator, but whatever. He didn't want to gender them, but you could tell the way he distributed them that he definitely had some gender bias. Because, remember when he wrote in New Slant on Life, he wrote that a culture where women are doing anything other than supporting a man and having children to take care of the home is on its way out. So we kind of know that was his attitude about women.
Yeah.
And it was reflected in the distribution across genders of these indicators.
Yeah, that was another thing I was thinking about. We covered that a bit on the film where the girl Ms. was always getting into accidents.
Yeah.
Hubbard had really pigeonholed, that in these films. And there were even things that he said in the films that might have been happening in the 70s in regards to Scientology. But as we were producing these films in the 90s and in the 2000s, those situations and that sort of view on things weren't the case anymore.
No.
And every once in a while, we had to edit the dialogue to kind of get around that.
Yeah, because it was embarrassing on a number of different. Do you remember also we had to what's called method 9 word clear these bulletins and back up to the list of references.
Yeah.
We also had to M9 every single one of those.
Yeah, whenever we did a film, we'd have to read these documents and read the script that we were going to shoot. And if we stumbled or hesitated while reading them, then we had to look up a word in a dictionary and then go back and then reread that section. And sometimes, in order to start shooting, there was a checklist. Oh, yes, we had a checklist.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
called the pre-production checklist that
Right.
was written by L. Ron Hubbard. And this thing was
Right.
miles and miles long. And you had to check off all these individual things that had to be done before you could start shooting the film.
There was 120 things on there.
Yeah,
It's
120
120.
steps.
Yeah.
And some of those steps could take a month.
Yeah. Build sets. So it's like,
Yes. But the other thing is that we'd have to do because these films were a model of how Scientology would react or view certain things in counseling or in training to be a Scientologist. They had to be exactly per these references. And L. Ron Hubbard had the idea that if the sound guy who's got the boom mic, if he had read and M9 word cleared all these things, then he'd be able to get the sound that would be representative of the exact technology. It was ridiculous. Anyway, somebody said, I just wanted to bring this up. Somebody said, Purple Groovy 69 said, question, Mark and Mitch, who do you think filled your positions when you guys left? No one.
yeah. Well, I mean, I trained a guy for 7 years, and he took it, but yeah, but
Yeah, but he's not you. So
no, he's not. He's doing what I trained him to do. So
So
yeah,
should
but
we-
hold on. Do you remember, Mark, the last few guys who hadn't finished their M9s and they were holding up the entire shoot?
and they would literally go to the course room and that's all they would do all day and all night
Yeah,
until they finished going through all these. And I was picking on the sound guy, but he was the slowest of the Scientology studiers of the crew.
Right.
So he just could not digest all the nonsense from Hubbard, and it would take him forever to understand what he was reading. And so a lot of times when we would get close to shooting the film, we would just, like a week before, we would just send him and say, you got to go because you're not going to finish by the time we're done.
Yeah.
And there was him, it was the sound guy, and then one of the gaffers, the gaffer with the fro was also a little slow on the take on the digesting the Scientology nonsense. So there was a few guys.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah.
Okay, so the way that I did these is I would, and this always worked, I would take a pad of paper and I'd say to the person that was M9ing me, I'd say, look, I have to, we all M9 is the very first thing you did.
Yeah.
One of the things I had to do was I had to write a director's interpretation.
Yes.
I didn't mind doing it all. It was kind of a nuisance, but I didn't mind doing it. And so I would put a piece of paper and I'd take a pencil, and while I M9, I would tell the person doing the M9, like, I'm going to stop and I'm going to make notes because I'm going to think of these things as I'm reading this. And if I don't stop and make the notes, I will forget them and they'll never make it in the film.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, oh, so every time I felt like I was going to, I'd go,
you had a get out of jail free card for the M9.
I would just make I'd make a note. I go, okay, I'm ready. And then, if I thought I was going to yawn or whatever, I'd like, make it anyway. So yeah, I did that. If ethics gold is watching, you can write a shit on me for that. But I cheated all my M9s. You should burn those films.
Yeah, I think that when I don't actually remember doing M9s. I was fast flow.
It was too painful. Because you knew this stuff didn't make any sense probably. And once you understand that it doesn't make sense, you get through it really fast.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, I either wasn't M9ing them because I was fast flow, or I was just saying, I M9'd it. And then I would just...
No, you must have been doing that because fast flow didn't get you out of an M9 on a test.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That was.
Or maybe... Again, I'm pretty decent at reading, and I've also been reading all these spy files, and I've been reading documents in these videos. I'm pretty good at just reading, even if it's gobbledygook. But even some of these spy files, they transpose a letter or a word, or there's a something missing, and my brain just, the thing where if there's enough of the letters there, your brain will figure it out and just read it right.
Absolutely.
So do
It's
we
called
want to
having
read
an IQ that's higher than room temperature?
Or just being so used to the nonsense that you get a kind of feel for how it's going to come out. Do we want to read all these different indicators?
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, one thing I want to say about this is that this very much represents what, if Scientology is one thing, it's judgmental. It is so full of judgment about everything and everybody, and there's only a couple of authorities. There's there's L. Ron Hubbard and David Miscavige. That they are the two authorities on everything. One sort of as a conduit to the other, and then it has its own just ever constantly flowing PS going on, and so everything is then held up against that standard for judgmental reasons. And these indicators are very much a way of judging another person. They're very much a way of saying that the person training to be an auditor, their judgment doesn't count, and their observation doesn't count. Their instincts don't count. All that counts is what's on this page.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy. Yeah, it's wild. So it says bad indicators. Now it says at the beginning of each one of these, it has in capital a certain thing, and this one it says chart of human evaluation. So it's just referencing where you would
what bullshit this bullshit came from.
That's exactly right. So and also if there's a place where that bullshit would be located, if not in that place. So it says chart of human evaluation here. Then it says worksheets, miscellaneous reports. So it kind of sources different ways that you would be able to see these indicators.
Right. Like we didn't make this up here. We made it up over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. This is just referencing other bullshit in other places.
Exactly. And the chart of human
bullshit.
And the chart of human evaluation stuff is amazing because that's the scientific basis of all the BS in Scientology. Of the the homophobia, the racism, the sort of all the kinds of rationale for why things are good or why they're bad is all contained in the chart of human evaluation. So then basing indicators, people's indicators on that is pretty precious. So
okay, so let's do the bad indicators. So it says one. I'm not going to read the beginning part because that's just no. repetitive.
Just read it because the second part is the VO, like PC not moving up the bridge.
That's right. PC not moving up.
I think we shot that on the org. It was just the chart, the bridge, right? The chart,
yes.
Right? We just shot nothing, like an arrow, and then it never moved. Something really dumb.
A dumb graphic.
Grip. Yeah, it was because how do you show that? PC not going up. I guess you could show the cash register not opening.
No checkbook opening up.
Yeah.
So it says bad indicators. 1, PC not moving up the tone scale in an intensive or during a program. So that would just mean that the PC is getting auditing, but the PC is not coming up tone. And we've covered the tone scale in other documents. It goes from body death all the way up to
serenity of beingness.
Serenity of beingness. Yeah. And then there's everything in between there. Victim, body
whatever
death.
that is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Victim is right above body death. Like it's one notch above body death. That's what, if you're a victim in Scientology, they consider you to be almost dead. That's where it is on this scale of tones.
Yeah. Because in Scientology, death, there's the death of the body, and then there's a state of being, which they refer to as death. So when death on the tone scale that's what that is. So if you're not moving on the tone scale, for example, if you were gay and you continue to be gay, that because you're supposed to not be gay anymore as you move up the tone scale. So you would definitely fall into that.
Yeah.
Like
They don't
not
pray
moving
to,
up the tone scale,
yeah,
gay. You know,
they
that
don't
they could have,
pray to get the gay away in Scientology. You pay to get the
yeah,
gay away
pay
in
to get the gay
Scientology.
away. Yeah.
It's just an R missing, and you're good.
Yeah. That's a bumper sticker, Mark, I
Yes,
think. Yeah.
pay the gay away in
Pay the gay
Scientology.
away.
Number 2, PC's chronic tone unchanging despite one or more intensives. Oh, and an intensive is a block of 12 and a half hours of
Which
counseling.
nobody can explain why it's that.
I think it's because if you do counseling 2.5 hours a day, you can get 5 of those in 12 and a half hours. So
Oh,
it's a
okay.
week of two and
Yeah,
a half hours.
but why 2.5 hours? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like,
It's Scientology, man. Don't try to make sense of it.
well, it sounds really precise, and I think you could then say it feels like there's some science behind it because
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's
2.5 hours.
yeah, 2.5 hours times 5.
Yeah.
3, PC's chronic tone dropping despite intensives. So if your tone doesn't raise, that's a bad indicator. If it doesn't raise after hours and hours of auditing, that's a bad indicator. And if it goes down, that's also a bad indicator.
So what would
4,
be an example of a chronic tone? That would be the guy that walks in every day and you say hi
he's,
to him and he goes, ah,
yeah, it's just
and he just
always
does
in
that every day.
boredom. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He walks in, and if he walks in for session, I guess more than a few weeks, and he goes, and then they go, oh, bad indicator.
Yeah.
4, PC's not wanting more auditing. Now this is a good one. So if you do Scientology counseling and you're like, it's great, I loved it, it's wonderful, thank you. At the end, you have to write a success story. If you write a success story, you say, I love this was great, I loved it, I can't believe I figured all this stuff out. I'm much happier now that I'm done with this. If you do that, but then they say, okay, we want to get you onto your next auditing, and you say, oh, no, I'm not going to do any more auditing, then they're like, oh, bad indicator. And so then you go into a whole nother channel of people that have to handle you to sign you up for more auditing. Okay, 5, PC protesting another session. So that's very similar to the last one. If you don't want auditing, then doing another session is also a form of, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that. I did that once when I was a kid I was a student that was I was doing Scientology training, and there was another student who needed somebody to audit, and that person audited me, and I was like 11 or 12 or something like that. And it went horribly wrong, and I got really sick. And whatever happened, my synapses got all crossed up. And so I told them, I'm not doing this anymore. And because I was sick and I didn't like it, that in Scientology, if someone gets a session and it goes badly, if that person doesn't go back in session and it goes well within 24 hours, all of the people that are involved in the counseling for that organization, they lose all of their statistics for a block of time. And it's a big deal, and it's called a red tag. And you have a folder in Scientology, which all the worksheets from your counseling goes into. They write all this down. All the counseling sessions are written, notes are taken, and they also, now they just record them digitally, audio and video. So I don't know where they put that, but either way, they lose all their statistics if that goes bad, and it is a very, very big deal. So and you get a red tag on your folder, and if there's a folder with a red tag in it, everyone in that whole place is like, we got to figure this one out. We got to get this guy back in. And I kind of like ran away for the day after I was done with the auditing. I was like, I'm out. I'm just going to like roam the streets of Hollywood and hang out on the boulevard. And they sent people driving all over Hollywood to find me. And somebody actually drove up to wherever I was. They found me and they brought me back to the org so that I could go in session and get it fixed.
Yeah. You could be on your way to the most important life event of your life. But if they have a term for it, if you're red tagged, like, hey, no, you're red tagged. You're not going anywhere. You're red tagged. Yeah. And this was supposed to take precedence over all of your existence.
Yeah, it is really that way.
Yeah.
6, PC looking worse after session. So A lot of these are very self-explanatory.
Yeah, and they're also subjective. We could just kind of blow through those really silly ones. I
Yeah.
mean, but that's somebody's opinion.
Well, it says exam reports and obnosis. So if somebody looks at
Obnosis,
you
yeah,
and they say, "Oh, he looks worse," then they could write that down, and then you're there. They're back in.
yeah.
Back in.
You could be red tagged, and that you could miss whatever the
Yeah.
birth of your child. It just doesn't. Well, not in this York, but
It's also very, very funny to look at these as somebody who they're trying to get back into Scientology, or
yeah,
if they're trying to get that person in, these are all bad indicators. And they will tell the person, hey, listen, you haven't been in session for a few months. That's a bad indicator. They'll tell
yeah,
you that that's a bad indicator. And
yeah.
that's sort of a cue to be like, hey,
You're about to
um,
get a sec check.
yeah, this is about to get
Yeah,
much worse
yeah,
before it gets better. You better
yeah,
play ball, otherwise we might have to go hard here.
yeah.
Okay, PC doesn't seem to have time to get audited. PC not able to locate incidents easily. So now this is key
Mm.
because a lot of times they're asking you questions. They could have been last week or last year or tens of years ago. It could be 12 million years ago. So if you're not able to locate that incident, that's a bad indicator. 9, PC less certain about things than he or she was formerly. That's also very subjective. I don't even know how you get there.
Yeah, yeah.
10, PC not doing as well in life as she was. Again, like if you lose your job, that's a bad indicator.
Oh
If
yeah,
you
big time.
crash your car, that's a bad
Yeah,
indicator. And you're probably also connected to a suppressive person and you're a potential
sure.
trouble source, PTS. It's almost like anything that happens in life, in your life, outside of Scientology, is going to adversely affect you inside
Yeah,
Scientology.
and it doesn't matter how well you handle it.
It really
It doesn't
doesn't.
matter. Yeah, I mean the real test is how well you handle it. And sometimes you're not going to handle it in a week. Sometimes it might take 2 weeks.
Yeah,
But it doesn't
despite
matter.
going in
Yeah,
session
because
or not.
your story, your narrative, your own personal narrative, it's not yours anymore. It's being written by this organization. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
But literally,
really.
this is now your narrative. This is now your red tag. You're this. You're that. It's that's why this is so reflective of the evaluation.
Yep.
Because that's what it's just of the judgmentation. I meant it's such a judgmental scene that it's amazing. It's like
Yeah, and this is sort of a not only is it this is really for internal Scientology staff members or Sea Org members,
yeah,
but this is sort of like a roadmap for the people the civilian Scientologists that are paying for
yeah.
counseling or paying for training. They all know what about this list, and
Well, yeah,
and it's kind of grooved into you.
yeah, no, and people, even if they don't do auditor training, I mean, everybody, remember, Mark, everybody's supposed to do auditor training. Right
Hmm.
at the beginning of every check sheet, it says, what is it? I'll bet you Claire would remember that by heart because she did a lot of training.
Yeah,
Where it says at the beginning of the check sheet, it says that the data in this check sheet contains vital information for becoming an auditor and doing well in life.
that's right.
So it's something like that. So it was like, well, I'm never planning on auditing anybody. That's not an excuse. You sort of
Yeah,
needed to know this. And it had so much status. I mean, Scientology, like, let's just make a list: judgmental and status based. Okay. It's just like out of this world. And so
yeah,
all of this training or statuses. But yeah, the public definitely knew this.
yeah,
You know what film I just remembered? I really love to get a hold of. It's not one of the tech films, but
yeah.
it's called Advice to Persons Being Audited.
Yes.
And it stars Michael D. Roberts. We might have remade it with a narrator, but Michael comes out and he says, "So, you're going to get some auditing,"
Yeah.
and then he says all the things you're going to do and you need to do,
Yep. He
and you
kind
don't
of
really know.
he gives you a heads
Yeah,
up. These are the things that are going to happen. You better
yeah,
be ready for them.
you're gonna need to get some sleep. He's really nice. You're gonna need to
Yes.
get some sleep, and you're gonna need this, and you're gonna need keep life calm and all this kind of stuff. You don't really realize it. I mean, it took me like maybe not as long as some people, but a long time to pull my head out of the a-hole of Scientology, and you these ways that you're drawn in and indoctrinated, because you come to believe that the case supervisor has your best interest at heart, and
Yeah.
everything that's being done is being done because it's the best thing for you. And so you're being given this advice. It's an amazing, indoctrination machine. And you and I really helped enable it, which is why we're here today.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for me, I was making cassettes and videotapes
Yeah.
before I came over to this. So
I remember.
I just kind of jumped the line. I went from the
Yeah, you
packaging
did.
them to the making them, and then I actually
Yeah.
jumped again to the prepping them, and
Yeah.
then eventually I got it sucked up all of it, making them, producing them. I got the whole shebang by the end.
Yeah,
But,
that's right. You were wrapping sausage, then you were making sausage.
yeah, and then in the very end, I was making the systems that everything that I had been making for
Yeah,
the
the
past
delivery,
14
right.
years,
Yeah.
what they played on in the organization. So I kind of went full circle there in this whole chain of events.
Yeah, I got a set of 5.1 PMC speakers in my living room.
You still do right now
Oh yeah.
with the Bryston amps or the
No.
or do
I
they
have the subwoofer that has I said whooper, subwoofer.
that has the
No.
amp built in?
Yeah, that has the 100-watt Bryson amp built in. It's like the best
Yeah.
subwoofer in the
Oh,
world.
you dumb.
No, they gave me. I mean, I got a discount from Systems when they.
Yeah, of
But
course you did.
they're great. They're fucking great. I mean,
I
excuse
do
me, but
love
they're-
those PMCs with the built-in Bryson backpacks.
Yeah, they're like amazing. I couldn't afford Bryson amps because they're like insanely expensive.
They are.
I mean, they use in the studios. You remember, Mark? In the
We use them in
studios.
all of the organizations.
Yeah, but
Those amps are like, I want to say the kind of the amp that we would use all the time is $3,500. It's
they're
expensive.
handmade in Canada. The speakers are made in England. They have these studio monitors in the studio that they use to mix the films we made.
Yeah.
They'd have a pair of those for the front, left, and right.
Yep.
$84,000 a piece. I just looked them up because I was.
Well, we
curious.
also had PMC speakers in all the film rooms in
Everywhere.
all of the
Yeah, the
Scientology
system I have
organizations.
the speakers I have in my living room are the ones in all the theaters.
It's
because-
crazy. The
Yeah,
amount of
'cause
and
Miscavige he would go to the ends of the world to do this shit, but he wouldn't pay people crap.
yeah, we
And
would
he'd
spend
treat-
$3,500 for one amplifier. There might be 20 of those in one organization.
Yeah.
And that's how much a Sea
Yeah.
Org, if a Sea Org member got paid every week, they'd get about $3,500 a year. So that gives you an example of what they're
Yeah.
willing to spend money on and what they're not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the list. PC, PC, less certain, PC, oh gosh. Oh, 11. PC's semantics. Is it somatics? PC's somatics don't seem to blow or erase.
Ooh.
Somatics is just like if you always have a pain in your back or your stomach always.
Yeah.
is
Soma
always
from the
easy.
Greek word meaning pain. So
Okay. 12. PC and ethics trouble after last auditing. Yeah.
yeah, PC seen walking out of his strip bar after his last auditing session.
Or this is
Happens
another
all the
good one.
time.
If a PC has bad indicators and the auditor doesn't resolve it, it falls on the auditor that happened.
Absolutely.
So I pretty much have all of these indicators that we've gone through so far when I was working in Scientology, and Tom Cruise was my auditor, but he never got lit up once.
No, he's not. I wouldn't want to be audited by Tom.
13. PC.
I wouldn't want to be audited by anybody, but
I don't get this one. Oh, PT. I thought it said protecting. PC protesting auditing actions. So that means if you do end up in session and then in the session they want to do something like maybe ask you about what you've been up to and you're like, no, I don't want to talk about that. That's a bad indicator.
yeah.
14, PC wandering all over the track, unable to stay with an incident to handle. So the track is sort of, if you just think of it as a timeline of your entire existence for how
Right.
many ever millions of years, if you're in session and you're bouncing all over the time track, then that's not good. That means
Yeah, or if you're saying a lot, this one time at band camp,
Yeah.
and you're kind of saying that like a lot.
Yeah,
The
and
auditor's
it's
like,
like,
oh my God,
we
you know,
got to
and
get this one time at band camp. Okay, 15. PC miss emotional at session end. Miss emotional is just any emotion besides happy. If you're crying or you're mad or you're
yeah,
angry,
I mean, if you want to get really specific, it's basically means an emotion that's inappropriate for the situation.
there you go.
Like somebody falls down and like, stabs himself with a fork and you break into laughter.
Yeah, that
You
would
did it.
be
You laughed when I just suggested it.
miss
You
emotion.
laughed.
Well, yeah, because
And
it was funny.
yeah.
Um, PC demanding unusual solutions. So
Yeah.
that could be like, well, if I'm going to go in session tomorrow, then you better have the room all warmed up and ready to go, and I don't want to
Yeah.
have to park. I want somebody to save a spot for me, and
Yeah. Yeah. That would count. Yeah, also, like, I realize I'm clear and I need to start OT3 tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, they're both extremes. I mean, either one would, and people like, they show up, they're like that. I'm like, look, I realize I'm L. Ron Hubbard and you're doing this wrong.
yeah. Oh
So
my God,
just
the amount of times
crazy
that
stuff.
people getting counseling would be like 100% certain what the next thing that they need to do is. It's like,
Yeah.
this whole thing's made up. Nobody could know what your next thing is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, 17. PC trying to explain condition to auditor or others, either verbally or by writing notes. Okay. So if they say, listen, you're in trouble because you did XYZ, and then you start writing big, long verbiage, letters and notes and stuff to them saying, no, what happened was, on Tuesday, I met up with my ex-girlfriend and try to explain it outside of the session. They don't want to hear about any of that. If we want to have a conversation, we need to be on the clock. You need to pay. And this all needs to be like official. We can't just be getting notes from you. 18. PC continuing to complain of somatics after they have been run. So if you dealt with the stomach pain and then 2 weeks later, the stomach pain's still there, that would be something. And I just realized I am going to burn through these because there's 50 of these things.
Yeah. There's actually total 70.
Yeah, there's 50 of the bad ones. Then we got 20 of the good. 20.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's pick up the interesting ones.
Okay, good. So PC self-auditing after session. That just means if they're asking themselves dumb questions. PC dependence on medicine not lessening. PC dependence on medicine not lessening. This is a big one because they say we don't tell people not to go to the doctor. We if someone is sick, they should go to the doctor. It says right here, a bad indicator. PC dependence on medicine not lessening.
Yeah, so if you're taking some kind of medication and it's not lessening, then that's a bad indicator because they're never going to promise you that it will lessen.
Yeah.
But you're going to take it as a bad indicator if it doesn't. And you'll have to sign up for more auditing for that. So this is like it's the most complex 3-card Monty one could possibly imagine.
Yeah, well, even Tori Chrisman, she's an ex-Scientologist that spoke out. She was taking medication for seizures.
Epilepsy.
Yeah, she was taking anti-seizure medicine.
Yeah.
And they wanted her to stop. And if she stopped, she'd have seizures and then possibly pass away. So how do you lessen that medicine if you need to take it for the rest of your life? It's just, the Scientology is not compatible with the real world. Okay, PC continuing other practices, yoga,
witchcraft. Astrology. No, that's a big one.
Astrology, yes.
Like astrology has many levels that people expose themselves to astrology. One of them, it's very popular as entertainment because people love this kind of. They go, oh I looked at my horoscope today and it said I'm going to win the. They love it for entertainment, but boy, when you're in Scientology and you see the horoscope, like you're auditing and you're reading the paper and you see the horoscope, you don't look at it.
Yeah, you don't even in Scientology. If you go up to somebody and be like, "Oh, I'm a Leo," "Oh, you're a Taurus," you're like, "Oh, you're going to get hauled off." Like we don't.
No. If you're relating your life to these other kinds of things, you're actually relating your life to it. You're like, "What the hell's wrong with you, man?"
Yeah,
we're giving you the truth, and you're like looking at like the astrology. What the hell?
Yeah, not a good look in Scientology.
No.
22, skin
I'm a
tone
Libra,
dull.
by the way, Mark.
What's that?
I'm a Libra. Aren't you you're a
Taurus.
Leo? Taurus. That's
Taurus. I'm right on the cusp, but
yeah.
I'm a Taurus.
Yeah, I get along pretty well with Tauruses, so
Yeah, it's
we'll
all
be
good.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Just stay out of my
Yeah,
what
yeah. Don't unbalance
and we
myself.
can't get any Sagittariuses or I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
any of
no,
that stuff.
yeah.
Okay, so PC skin tone dull, eyes dull, PC lethargic, PC not
We
becoming more cheerful under auditing.
now I'm getting excited, Mark, because these were actually like we got to do a close up on the eyes.
Yes.
This was like a big day because wow, we're moving the camera. But that
Yeah.
was really tough to shoot, like eyes dull. Like it's just like
It was. And there's a lot of these that are even subjective to this day. You would watch it. And if you watched the shots that we shot, you'd be like, okay. And then you'd be like, I didn't get that one. That one was
yeah.
that
Yeah.
one was a
Well,
little far out.
you
That was a
you will
stretch.
get it. You will get it because you keep being sent to cramming and you have to restudy stuff and eventually you're going to go, "Oh yeah, I see it."
Yeah, and also that's another thing. When you're doing your auditor training, then you have to watch these films repetitively. You could watch this film. This PC Indicators film. There's two films. There's a PC Indicators film where they explain it all,
Right.
and then there's another one where they show the shots that we shot, but they don't say what the indicator is. You're supposed to yell it out at the screen,
Yeah.
and then they mix them up in a random order. And if
Right.
everyone's supposed to yell them out. So if you yell out the wrong one, then everybody knows. Oh, this guy's got to watch the film
Yeah.
again. This
He's
guy's
a
got to
schmuck.
come back a few more times.
Yeah, no, totally. I wonder, because I would go occasionally. I go to different churches, and when I traveled or whatever for work or whatever, and you go in, and if people were there and they knew who I was and what that I did the films, and they'd yell catchphrases at you. We've talked about this before,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there were any catchphrases from this film. There's got to be one.
We might hit it when we read it. We might
Yeah,
it might
yeah.
spark remembering it. 25, PC not becoming more cheerful under auditing. 26, PC wanting special auditing. 27, no tone arm action on running incidents or getting audited. Okay, so this one I have to explain a little bit. On the meter, the main dial that you use to move the meter back and forth is called the tone arm. And each time you move it in a certain direction, when you're bringing it down, it has a counter and it counts
Right.
up what's called the tone arm action.
Yeah, it
And so
counts movement to the left, but not to the right.
that's right. So the idea is that the incidents and these things that you're doing the counseling on, they have charge. They have an electrical charge associated with them. And
Right.
each time you bring the tone arm down, you're reducing charge, and that's your way of monetizing or calculating
Monitoring.
how
Yeah.
much
That's
monetizing.
funny you said monetizing because it's totally true.
That's the way you
Yeah.
monetize the session is if
Yeah,
you get how much tone arm action you get, how much that total, and there's a little digital readout, and at the end of the
Yeah.
session, you go, okay, you write down all the statistics, and then you go tone arm action, and it's like 12.2, and that it just needs to be something. If you don't have any of that, then that means you didn't do anything. So that's a bad thing. So
Yeah, and an auditor is going to get in trouble for that.
yes.
Not being able to get it to move because they're
Yep.
supposed to be able to do it.
Okay. 28 PC
Well,
not
I do remember I do remember a catchphrase not from this film but related to everything you just explained.
yes.
That blows charge.
That blow charge.
That blow
That's
charge.
from Al
The
Clegg
Africa. Yeah,
in,
yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
How to Set Up a Session in E-Meter.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
blow
yeah.
charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said it. It was a guy from LA. He was like, I think he was in the entertainment industry even.
Al Clegg, he wasn't. Yeah, he was an actor, but
Yeah.
he was with us. He had. I think he played a couple of seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes,
He was
that's
NFL.
right.
I think it was Kansas City, and then he had a really bad like an ankle injury or something. He couldn't play football anymore, and so he became an actor. And he was a great guy. I mean,
He was.
he didn't know how fucked up Scientology was because we didn't know. So
No. I think there was his brother or somebody else was also sort of
Clegg,
Scientology
Clegg.
adjacent or involved in something or another. I can't remember.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
Okay. Okay, 28. PC not cogniting. So cogniting just means when there's a preset set of things, that realizations that you're supposed to come to in Scientology auditing or counseling. It's already figured out what you need to say in order to finish that level. And usually they call that a cognition of like, oh, I just realized I created my reactive mind. That is the cognition that you have to have in order to go clear. So if
Right.
anybody's getting auditing right now, just say that and you'll be clear. I
Yeah.
realized I've been creating my reactive mind and I mocked all this up, then you're clear. But if you're not having those cognitions, that's a bad indicator. 29, PC dispersed. 30, PC overwhelmed. 31, PC bored with auditing. 32, PC not available for sessions. 33, PC tired.
Might I just say that PC not available for session was an empty chair.
Yes, that's
One of my
right.
favorite shots.
That's right. We just shot an auditing room with a chair, just nobody in it.
Empty. Yeah.
PC tired, that was also an easy one. We just be like somebody
Yeah.
nodding
Yeah.
off. 34, PC has attention on auditor. 35, PC not wanting to run process or incident. 36, PC taking drugs or excessive alcohol. PC, oh, that's another thing. Scientology is completely incompatible with drinking or doing any kind of drugs, any kind, whether it's illegal or legal or prescription, or
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. If you're taking drugs, you're not supposed to go in session within 24 hours. I think it is
Right.
within 24
They
hours.
they have they have a list. There's certain things like aspirin, I think is 24 hours, and then some other things are 3 days. Like they
Yeah.
actually have a list. Like it's
Huh.
some scientific thing, but it's not, because it's just a
If
bunch of
anybody knows where
BS.
that list is, let us know. We'll check it out. Okay. PC not sure auditing works for him, her. 38, PC not handling environment more easily. 39, PC ill after last session. 40, PC critical of auditor or organizations. This is another one. So if the organization messes up and you're critical of it, that's a bad indicator, which
Right.
is crazy in Scientology, because it would literally be like you buying a car off the lot and you drive the car home and the freaking thing dies. It doesn't work. And then you go back to them and you say, hey, this thing's a giant shitbox. It just crapped out right when I got home. They go, well, you're just going to have to buy another one. That's what Scientology does. They
Yeah.
have these
Or
books.
or they'll say, "What's your problem? What is your problem?"
They
Can you
have
imagine
books.
taking the car back and
They have books that they have made people buy 4 or 5 times because they said, oh, that book was messed up. You got to buy the new one. We fixed it. Or that meter was a piece of junk. We made a new one. You got to throw away that old one and buy a new one. And they've done this over the decades. They've done it multiple times. And if you bought yourself a Mark 5 e-meter and then a Mark 6 and then a Mark 7 and then a Mark Super 7 Quantum and then a Mark 8, you paid way more than you would have paid for a car. I can guarantee you that right now. Okay, PC dopey or boiling off. Now,
yeah, that's just one of the 7 dwarves, might I
I was
add.
going to say,
Yeah.
dopey, well, I guess dopey means dopey. So if the PC's being dopey, if someone's just a dopey dude, then you're not, Scientology's doing it for you.
Yeah. These are the 7 dwarves of PC indicators.
42, PC not going up to the next grade or level. 43, PC has a dirty needle.
Ooh.
44, PC gets no reads on the meter or has a stuck needle. 45, despite corrections for false TA, the PC has a chronic high TA. That just means instead of being able to get, there's like when I mentioned that tone arm thing that you use to adjust the needle, the dial of the e-meter, if you have a TA range that's in this normal section, which they've said, then that's fine. But if your TA is way up high on the far other end of the TA dial, that's not a good thing. Despite corrections for false TA, the PC has a chronic high TA. Despite corrections for low TA, PC has a chronic low TA. 47, no FNs. FNs are floating needles. Floating needles indicate the end of a process or an action in Scientology. When you get to a floating needle, You do not continue on past that if you don't need to. Like, that's a good place to end off. Everybody's
Right.
happy. The
Right.
PC's happy. The counselor's happy. Let's
Yeah.
be good there. If you have what's called a floating TA, which your needle is floating so big that you have to use that dial to get the needle back on the dial, but it's still just floating, then that means you're done for the whole session. It's over right then. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah, you know, one thing about the floating needle, nobody's really figured out what causes that. I mean, it is an actual phenomena that happens. I've heard some interesting discussion about the biofeedback self-hypnosis aspect of using this machine counseling
Yeah.
that it creates, and there is this potential for a kind of an endorphin flow, like a sudden burst of endorphin that then would cause this
I
phenomenon.
was just going to say, it's like a
Yeah.
dopamine endorphin thing, and you
Yeah,
get into a little
exactly.
bit of a loop. Whenever I
Yeah.
was being audited and I was, down a dark alley and I couldn't figure out how to get out of the session, I would just think of front row at this Depeche Mode concert I went to at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, total
That's it.
total
You're good.
endorphin,
That was my get out of
dopamine
jail
rush.
free card for 15 years.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think there's some truth to that. It's horrible. I mean, why engage? It's terrible, but it's just like,
Yeah, don't do any research on this, folks. Trust
yeah,
us.
it's just not. It's not necessary. It's just not. Yeah.
Okay, we're almost to the end of the bad ones. 48,
Oh,
no
thank
change in
God.
reader characteristics. 49, no change in exam reports. 50, no change.
I love
Done.
that one. Yeah, I love that one. That was fun to shoot. No
I
change.
love this. There's a note at the end. We just went through 50 of these things. There's a note at the end. There's an additional data on indicators in this other HCOP, ARC breaks, Myth-Wizholds, where indicators concern Myth-Wizholds. There's like, even there's
Yeah.
more. There's a whole
Yeah.
nother thing about this. We're definitely not going to do that. Somebody asked what a dirty needle was. A dirty needle just indicates that the PC has withholds or something that they don't want to tell. They're holding
What does it look like, Mark? I think they want to know.
It goes like this.
Yeah, it just kind of has a.
It's a little
Yeah.
sticky. It's a little
It's a
kind of
little,
moves around, and it's just a little like. Eh.
Yeah, as opposed to a clean needle that just kind of idles nice and cleanly. Now, you know, they didn't do this like, did you? I wasn't subjected to this, but did you guys do like weekly meter checks at Gold?
Oh, jeez, dude. We did for years. We had to
Really?
get meter
Weekly?
checks.
Like,
We
I mean,
just-
daily? Daily?
we didn't. We only had to get them daily if we were leaving the property.
Okay.
So like
Okay,
sometimes when
okay.
we would go on shoots, if we would go on location shoots, the whole shoot crew had to file through the ethics department
Right.
and sit down and get meter checks. And all you do is you just sit down, you pick up the meter, and then somebody goes, okay, thank you. And they just write what your needle reaction is. And if you have a
Right.
dirty needle, then you don't go on the shoot. So we could literally be going to go on a shoot and the chief cameraman can't come because he has a dirty
Yeah.
needle.
Had a dirty needle.
Yeah, that's that.
Well,
That's the end of that.
The reason that I asked, I don't remember the guys. I think no, because I don't ever remember that they were like standardly just daily every day.
No,
But
we
when
had to
I-
get
when I
them
was-
every week. Usually on Fridays after the end of the week, you'd go and you get a meter check.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah, I mean, I would get them sometimes. The HCO, which is the ethics department, they just go drifting through the castle. They just show up, remember, and they'd put the meter down in the auditing room in the castle, and they just start grabbing people. Hey, come here, meter check, meter
Yeah,
check.
That's
And
usually
of course, you're like, you have this F off attitude, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this new operating system stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but you don't want to show it, yeah. But you don't want to, you don't want it to show up in a meter. It could, because you're pissed because you have so much stuff to do and you're being yanked away for a meter check. So you're like, oh, okay, and you're just nice. When I was working at Scientology Media Productions for the HCO, there was in the basement of the main building. Every day after lunch, the entire org would have to file down to the basement and get meter checks. Maybe it was just on Thursdays right after they turned their staff in. I don't remember. But the reason I bring it up is seeing this long line of Sea Org members all trying to keep their headspace in a really good place. Like, hey, like, so that they could pass this, because all you're going to do is you're going to sit down, you're going to pick up the cans. An ethics officer, a meter checker is just going to look at you just stare at you, not ask you anything, and they're just going to be looking at the meter, looking at you. And if that thing moves the wrong way, you ain't leaving there.
Yeah.
You might not leave there for weeks. You might end up going through the most horrific interrogations. So seeing these guys lining up, waiting for the meter check, and they just so full of love. It's like, goodness, because they don't want to fall into some mental mood that could be detected on a meter. Anyways, crazy. Let's move on. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Hold on. Okay, we're good. Say something, Mark. Oh yeah, let me fix my headphones real quick. Sorry about that.
Make the crackle go
Yeah,
away.
there we go. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. My earbuds just died. Fortunately, I had my headphones sitting by.
Oh, okay, good. We're good.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, good. So good indicators. 1, PC willing to talk to the auditor. 2, while in session, PC interested in own case.
PC Peachy.
PC peachy. 3,
Yeah.
a good read on the breath test shows PC is eating and sleeping well. 4, rudiment session.
What's a breath test? Breath test.
That's
is that like this is a breath test?
No, I think they're talking about the
Can
metabolism.
you smell your breath, right?
They're talking about the metabolism. So
then
when
there's
you do your
when you do this,
no,
you sniff.
it's
No?
when you
We're
go.
not- Oh, right.
And you
Right.
do
Take
the
a deep
test.
breath. Hold it for a moment, and let it slowly out your mouth. Okay.
That's right.
None of us are ever going to forget this.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to get a movement to the right of 2 inches.
Yeah, or 3. I think it was a quarter of a dial or something. I can't remember what it was.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
Oh, am I too loud now? Somebody's saying I'm
No,
loud.
don't worry. I think you're fine. It's just literally we're good.
Okay, good.
We're fine. A good read on the breath test shows PC is eating and sleeping well. 4, rudiments, session to session, easier to get in and stay in. So when you do a session, there's rudiments. There's something they ask you before every session. They ask you, is there, I don't remember the order, but is
Do you have
there
an ARC break?
ARC break?
Yeah.
Do you
And
have
then present time problem?
present time problem? And do you have a missed withhold?
Do you have a missed withhold?
And usually when you first go in session, that gets to be a little tricky because whatever's going on in your life, you got to talk about it in the beginning of the session to kind of get over it. And so what happens is people that are going to go in session, they try to block out all the nonsense in their life before they go in session, because otherwise they're going to spend they're paying money for these sessions. And if you have to talk about all the nonsense that's happening in your life, that could be the whole session. You could spend an hour just doing the rudiments. And then after that, you're like, I got to go. We're done.
Yeah.
So, so usually if you're a Scientologist that's been in for forever, when you show up, you're just like, they ask you those 3 questions and you're just like, yep, we're good to go. Let's keep moving. Like when you first go in, each one of those things could take 10, 15 minutes. But once you've been there for a while, you just breeze right past those 3 and you get right into the meat of it.
Yeah.
Obnosis, 5, PC cheerful. 6, needle FNing, that floating needle at session start. 7, tone arm moving in the range of 3.0 to 2.0. That was what I was telling you before. It needs to be between 2 and 3.0 is where the tone arm needs to be. 8, needle moving easily as PC does the process. 9, blowdowns occur on right items and cognitions. That just means when they get something that they were going to try to find, when they find that thing, there's a considerable amount of tone arm action that happens at the same time.
Right. And the item usually refers to, we're not going to get too complicated here, but there's there's an aspect of auditing that's called, when you find items on a list, you'll give the list, like, what's your favorite fruit? And then they'll say, like,
kumquats,
apples, oranges, cherries, pears. And then, and then what they do is they'll assess that and they'll ask it as a question. Apples, pears, cherry, and then they'll find your item because the needle will read, and then the auditor will indicate your item. The auditor will say, "I'd like to indicate that your item is kumquats," and you'll, "Oh, that blows down.
Yes,
That
that
blows
blow charge.
charge." So anyway,
Yes.
we're gonna do a. There's a whole film where they teach you to make
Assessment TRs.
to make anything you say a question.
Mm-hmm.
Goes up at the end. It's a question. How are you today, Mark? How are you today, Mark? How are you today, Mark? But
Yep.
if you say, "How are you today, Mark?" that's an that's an accusation.
Yes.
That's not
It
good.
has to go up at the end, not
It can't
down.
be a statement. It has to be a question.
And the read has to happen right at the end when it goes up. It has to happen
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there. It's a very specific point. If it
It
goes
has to be an instant read.
kumquats and it doesn't
Yeah.
happen right there, then that's not it. It has to
Yeah.
happen right there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And if it's a multi-syllable word, it has to happen on the final syllable of the word. I mean,
Yes.
it really gets broken down into this.
It's funny. It's
Minutia that
funny
they-
the things that they really drill down on that are
Yeah.
super important, which
Yeah.
probably in the overall scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal.
No.
It's all nonsense, folks.
No, but
Who
I'm telling you,
cares?
I had to. It took me like 15 minutes, to untrain myself to be, because the Scientology just, it does a number of things in addition to stealing your identity and feeding you a false narrative. But it messes with language, and it messes with communication while saying it's teaching you to communicate. But, you want to ask somebody like, "Hey, have you seen my car keys?" Like, you don't have to say, "Have you seen my car keys?"
Yeah. Where are my keys?
Yeah, where exactly. So you kind of got to get that out of your head.
It is.
It's not a big deal, but because I wasn't training as an auditor, but making these films, I had to really absorb a lot of that stuff. So
Yep.
it's just,
Okay. Here we go. 10. Tone arm counters showing normal or better TA for the session. 11. Change of characteristics in meter behavior every few sessions. 12. Tone arm blows down on cognitions. 13. Cognitions and FNs go together, floating needles. 14. Somatics vanish in processing.
yeah. And I want to clarify that one about FNs and cognitions happening at the same time. Like, if you just say, "Oh my God, I realize blah, blah, blah," and you have this great indicators, this great realization, your needle's like, like, this is really bad because, it should be going like floating, and then everybody's happy. But that happens. It literally
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, that's
Because
another reason.
that's not the way to get out of there.
That's right. I was just going to
You
say,
got
if you want to just say like, "Oh my God, I feel so much better." If you just say that and it's not accompanied with a floating needle, the auditor knows that you're trying to pull a fast one on them. So then that can backfire. You don't want to do that either. Okay.
Right.
PC blowing. Okay. 16. PC responses associated with what is being run. 17. PC moves on the tone scale. 18. PC understanding self better. 19. Eyes are brighter. 20. Improved skin tone. 21. Ears pop more open. I don't even know what that means. And how did we shoot that one?
We just did a close up on an ear. I remember the shot because I'm like, I never thought in my entire life that I was going to shoot just a close up on an ear. Like, what is this? What am I doing here? So,
oh yeah, that's another thing. When you're in session, you don't see the meter. Only the auditor or the counselor can see what's happening on the meter.
You don't
so
see
you're
the
in
work.
the dark. You can't, you don't have like you're not both looking at that thing. So if you think you're gonna game the meter, then you better know ahead of time whatever you're gonna, like my Depeche Mode concert, that worked for the entire time I was there. I don't know. I think there was just so much in that incident that it never that well never ran dry.
I can't tell you what mine was, but I did have this auditor. She was very pretty and well endowed, and some aspects of her physicality would you could get an FN on it. So,
Yeah,
but you have to be careful because you could also have a withhold.
that's good. I
And
was just
that's
gonna
happened to
say.
me where I'd had to say, like,
Yeah.
okay, what was that? What were you thinking of? And I'm like, I got to be honest. I was looking at your breasts, and I was
Oh my
okay.
goodness.
Like, you'd have to do it. You'd have to tell them,
Well,
and then
because
it was
otherwise it's never going to end until you say it.
never going to end. And then everybody's like embarrassed, and then anyway,
Yikes.
you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. And that's
It's
another
crazy.
reason why children should not be counselors in Scientology, because
Ever.
sometimes
Yeah.
you are getting counseled. Like, I'm in my 30s or whatever, late 20s, and I could be being counseled by
A 14-year-old girl named
well, I
Laura
wasn't going to say
Dolan.
14-year-old, but I was going to say a nice 19-year-old,
Oh,
or 20-year-old,
yeah, yeah.
and
But
you're like, you
that's
don't,
not a
if you
child.
have thoughts that you shouldn't be having thoughts of, then you're going to have to explain those. Those are going to
Yeah,
get dealt with.
yeah. I mean, having thoughts and knowing how to express your thoughts is like have all the thoughts you want, but it's how
Yeah,
you express them that really makes a difference. But they don't believe that in Scientology.
yeah,
It's the thoughts. Like, have you had negative thoughts about David Miscavige?
yeah,
Fuck yeah. I saw him brutalizing two of my friends right outside, and I
yeah,
wanted to kill the little MFer. Like, wouldn't you? You're not
yeah,
going to say that. You're just you're
yeah.
gonna
You're
do
going to be like,
whatever.
yeah, I saw some stuff today that I didn't feel too good about.
Yeah, that's a truth rundown for you. That's what I got.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, 22, PC cogniting. 23, life's problems lessening. 24, PC getting through the program okay with wins. See, in a lot of these, we were just shooting happy pre-clears. So we would shoot a picture of Denise or Tate just being like animated and very
yeah,
happy and looking good, and their makeup's
yeah,
all nice. And whereas before they had horrible makeup and they look bad, or we'd
yeah,
make their hair look messy or dirty, or their
yeah.
face or whatever. So in all these were easy because it was just like we were just ripping through them, like, okay, let's get one of you smiling. Okay, now we're gonna get one of you talking, and there would be no audio. The audio might have been real low below the the voiceover, and they were just saying, oh yeah, no, I had a great day today, whatever.
Yeah, a few of them had, there was the one about giving a note in the bad indicators, like giving
Yeah.
a note, handing a note over.
Yes.
I think that was Tate. I'm kind of remembering this and saying, "Here, could you give this to the case supervisor for me?" Like there'd be a little,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, 22, PC cogniting. 23, life's problems lessening. 24, PC getting through the program okay with wins. 25, PC's havingness in life and livingness is improving. 26, PC getting case gain. 27, change of characteristics of exam reports. 28, PC wanting more auditing. 29, PC going up the grade chart, not quickied and winning. And then
yeah.
L.R.
So
Hubbard found them.
wanting more auditing. That means PC reaching for his wallet much
Yes.
further is basically what that means. And then the one about quickie was, these processes in Scientology, especially on the lower bridge, they flip-flopped. They went from being, oh, it's taking too long, let's make them shorter. And then when that didn't work, usually because it's like, wait a minute, we shortened them, we're making less money. We thought we could drive more people through these, but there aren't the people to do it. So we have to swing the pendulum and milk the people that we have. So we'll just call the earlier change quickie.
Yeah.
Right. And they go back and forth. Like I remember quickie grades,
Yeah.
right? People would do them in 15 minutes, and then Miscavige, we should talk to Dan Kuhn about this sometime because he was the one that unquickied them, and then Miscavige blamed him for making them so long. All he
Yeah.
did was do exactly what Miscavige said.
I know. That's
He
that's the other thing, is whenever he would say, and you guys released this course and it never should have been released, and da 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 da. And then you go back to 1990
yeah,
and you're like, we're doing the events. We have to do research for new
right,
events. And
right.
we go back and we go, who released that in 1990? Then you go to the event and you go, oh, David Miscavige was
Yeah,
the one who released this in
yeah,
1990. He's
yeah,
blaming everybody that it was released. He's the one that released it. So
yeah. It's so crazy.
it is crazy. And the amount of the amount of hypocrisy in Scientology is crazy in
Yeah, it's
terms of
endless. It's a bottomless pit,
this is what
literally.
the Scientologists need to do, and that's the way it has to be done, period. But on the Scientology's end, they don't do it that way. They do it the way they want to do it, which has nothing to do with what L. Ron Hubbard said at all. But meanwhile, they're trying to enforce that the Scientology parishioners or civilian Scientologists are doing it the way L. Ron Hubbard said to do it, but then they don't even do that themselves. So it's sort of just like there's so many. If you're a Scientologist and you're watching this channel right now, this is for you. This is to tell you, we spent the time, we did the work, we put the time
Yeah,
in, so
yeah.
you don't have to. Okay, that's
Yeah,
how this works.
I really tried to make Scientology work. Like I really was into it. This is the other side of what you're saying, Mark. And so I
Yeah,
did that work as well. And so I'm just telling you, man, there's nothing there. It's not worth it. All you're doing is you're trading your identity for another story. You're trading the only thing you have. I realized this when I was done with my book. The only thing you have that can never be taken away from you is your story. You can lose everything. You can't take a person's story away.
yep,
Scientology can convince you to pay them to give you a new story to replace yours with. And then you're going to have a real difficult time brick by brick putting it back together. So get out now.
yeah. And I do want to say this. And when I was only there for 15 years, so I was there for
Yeah, I was only there for 28 or
that's what
whatever.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm the lightweight of the two. I was
Yeah,
there for
in some
15.
respects.
I was in Scientology from about, let's say, my mom got in when I was 6.
Yeah,
So let's say we'll throw another 10 years on there. So
yeah.
25 years that I was involved with Scientology, 15 that I worked at the international headquarters. Mitch was there for 28
Yeah, and then a couple of
years.
years at S&P, and then I got into Scientology in 1973. So I'm like, I'm half as smart or twice as stupid as you, Mark. Okay.
Well, I
Oh,
don't know that. I
with
remembered, and also I got to say this because it's not often that I would even be in this situation to say this, but working with Mitch on the film crew and being exposed just a little bit to that outside industry, and every once in a while running into somebody that worked in the industry, whether it was an actor or whether it was a lighting person or a
right,
sound person or whoever we interfaced with when we did
right,
these shoots, and
right,
they'd be like, dude, you could be making decent money in the real world if you
yeah,
did this as a
yeah,
job in the regular industry. And I would be like, really? And I'd be like, and they're like, yeah, dude, you could be making 6 figures a year doing this.
yeah.
And I'm
And you
like,
don't know what a good job you're doing because you have nothing to judge it against.
yeah,
So you don't know that you're doing a highly skilled job, really competently. That's well paid. So it's like,
yeah. It's,
that's
but it's,
a note to Sean Alcock.
yeah. And all those guys, oh man,
Yeah,
I feel
just
so
like,
sad for those guys. And whenever I do run into those people, I try not to give them a hard time. I try to just show them how successful I was outside of the Sea Org because they really do it's
yeah,
ingrained into you over the years that you will be an utter failure if you leave the Sea organization or
yeah,
if you leave Scientology, that you will fail in life because the world is a bad place, and without knowing all there is to know about Scientology, you won't be able to navigate the real world. And
yeah, yeah,
it's actually so far from the truth that you would not believe. So, so I encourage anybody who's still maybe involved with
yeah.
Scientology. If
And
you're
you and
watching
you
this,
and Claire have helped an awful lot of people for an awful long time. And I could just get teary-eyed thinking about that because all of those years after you guys were gone, and I had to, my friendship and admiration for you guys, I had to keep it in a box, right? Because I could never think of you guys as being SPs. It's like those two things couldn't exist at the same time. I
yeah,
remember just as a last note, I remember when you guys sued the church. You guys were like the first, pretty much, as far as I know,
yeah,
to sue them. And I thought, why are you doing that? You'll never win. I thought that's so stupid. I wasn't thinking like, damn you, USP. I
yeah,
was thinking, God, Mark and Claire, why are you doing that? You're not going to win. And then, later when I got out and I came to realize that was such an act of bravery. And I'm just going to say it
I appreciate it.
because that so much about Scientology got exposed. And I realized I never talked to you about this, but it's not like you even did it to win. It didn't matter if you won or not, because people started finding about the forced abortions and they started finding about the conditions. And so anyway,
Yeah.
that's also,
The
I
other
just,
thing is,
these guys, I don't think they get enough credit for it. It needs to be brought up again and again and again. And so there you go. I'm ready to get off the soapbox and answer some questions. What about?
thank you. Well, before we get to, we're going to answer some
Okay.
questions, but before we do
Okay.
that, because I don't want to forget, Mitch's book is out, and the link to get it is in the description. You can get it on Amazon, or you can go to Mitch's website, and you can. There's links to get the book there, and he's also got merch and
Yeah,
different.
you can get yourself a nice coffee mug. It's got some
Yeah,
beautiful
get a
art
big.
from the book, and sit
Exactly.
down by the fire and read it. Yeah, I'm really happy with. I've gotten some great feedback. Of course, I'd like to sell more because I could pay my rent next month, maybe. But that's not why I wrote it. But it certainly would help. Hey, remember, guys, it's the season for giving. But I've gotten such fantastic feedback. I can't even believe it. People talking about how much it helped them and blah blah blah. So
And Mitch has the most amazing stories in there, and he goes into the best detail. My favorite, we might have to do like my favorite parts, but when you talked
sure.
about Lisa Schroer,
Oh yeah,
the commanding officer, Golden Air Productions, whenever you described her
yeah.
or whenever you talked about her, it was like, oh, there we go,
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah, that's funny because Mike read my book. He was so gracious. He didn't have a lot of time. He read it on the way to. He was up going to some fundraiser that charity that he works on, the for
Child
children.
USA.
Yeah, Child USA. He read it on the plane and he sent me back some notes. But the one thing he said was, "You nailed Lisa Shore."
You know what's
I
funny?
think.
Mike did a video, and the video he did was there was a private investigator that was following them, and he
Yeah,
was on the plane. The private investigator kept trying to see what he was reading when he was on the plane.
yeah.
That's what he was reading in that video. He talks about he had some documents that he had to get through. He was reading Mitch's book. That's
Yeah,
what the PI was trying to
yeah.
see
Because
what he was reading.
I sent him a PDF of the manuscript, and he actually printed it out and he made notes. This is how
Nice,
cool Mike is. He made notes on the paper. He scanned the paper, and then he scanned his notes and emailed them to me.
nice.
It was like such a gracious act for him to help, because there were some things, he gave me some corrections on some things that I got wrong, because I was like, memory is a funny thing, but you don't want to get stuff wrong. And I didn't have a mainstream publisher, although I now have somebody who's like an editor who reached out to me and said, "I'm going to get you an agent, and we're going to put this thing mainstream because this could be a mainstream book." So,
Nice.
just if you read it and you don't like it, send me an email. I really would like to know. But
Yeah, if you believe the good stuff, you have to believe the bad stuff
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Awesome. So I think we should do some comments.
yeah. Okay, listen. Can you put real quick? I just want to say,
Yeah,
Michelle Carpenter.
yeah, I see it.
Yeah, she says, "Mitch, I can't afford to buy a book, but I'd love to get you on a podcast sometime." Yeah, send me an email. Maybe I can work out sending you a Kindle copy. I'm like, I'll do it for a review. That sounds
Yeah,
like I'm such a whore, but
but that's the great no, but that's another great thing about doing it on Kindle and doing it in these
yeah,
different
there's no
formats.
production cost.
You can also Amazon gives you I don't remember what it is. I think it's like 50 free credits that you can send a link to somebody and they can download the Kindle for
Oh
free.
yeah, I'm not aware of that. I had a bit of a disaster on my launch. My Kindle book was unreadable. It was just horrible, and I got some bad reviews from the it.
Just the
That's
way it
been
was formatted.
Yeah, it was somebody who did it didn't know what they were doing, and
Yeah, it's
it's all
different. You got to do it exactly a certain way for the Kindle, and
yeah,
I know all about this.
yeah. So yeah, it's all good now, and it's there's an EPUB, which anyway. It's also if I can get Apple Books, I mean they don't have their stuff shit together on this at all. I've been waiting three weeks for an email from them, but it'll also be on Apple Books. It'll be on Google Books, and then it'll
Nice.
be available through Ingram's, and then possibly somebody might pick it up and publish it, mainstream. But I don't know if I'd even do that, because you kind of got to give you basically got to sell somebody your copyright. for a period of years. So I don't know that I would do it. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, thanks for the plug. I hope you guys enjoy it. Michelle Carpenter, reach out to me, please. Scientology, the big lie, all one word at gmail.com, and we'll work something out.
Awesome.
Yeah, because, you know, like I used to say, I direct for cell phone money. So
Nice. Okay, let's look at some of these comments that we got in here. Okay, Michelle Carpenter, question. Have you guys gotten a chance to see the video from a couple of months ago of my friend Joni?
Yeah, I
Joni
saw
Adams,
it.
Doug Kramer calling
I
a Diamonds
saw it.
hotline from the 90s. It was hysterical. May he rest in power.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I'd like to just acknowledge Doug. Doug and I had a lot of friends in common because he studied with Bobby Lyons, was his acting teacher.
Yep.
He was in that class. I don't know if you ever talked. Did you ever interact with
I
Doug?
did. I had we chatted back and forth, and I think the only lives we did were when we did those games with you.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Those were the only videos we did, but we talked back and forth on other channels. But because he grew up in LA, basically.
Yeah.
Same place I grew up.
Yeah. And he studied with Bobby Lyons, so we all knew a lot of the same people.
Robert F. Lyons.
Yeah.
Gonna look him up.
Yeah, and so we did one stream together about actors in Scientology, and we talked a lot on the phone. Mark, he lived 5 minutes from me, and I never got together with him. Like, he's right down the street, and he's just such an interesting guy. I just wanted to acknowledge his life and his passing, and I wanted to say, yeah, I did see that stream. Mark, there's this. Do you know about this girl that Michelle's talking about?
Yes.
She does she collects old VHSs.
It's amazing. I've got a ton of great videos of old stuff, and one of them is one of those things that she did. It's.
Do you remember the original 1990 How to Use Dianetics?
We made thousands and thousands of VHSs of those. Over in manufacturing. I had to check them. I had to watch every time we ran a run of them. I had to watch one of like 25 of them. I had to watch it all the way through.
My God.
So I've watched that thing a million times. That had, it was Lee Purcell.
Yeah, that's right. And Jeff, the kid who wasn't an actor, Jeff, he won a Freedom Medal.
He was a plumber.
Yes, he was a plumber, and then he became he got a Freedom Medal, and he and his wife, and they
did Kinder. His wife's name was Kinder.
They were the ones who got the grant to do the Hollywood Educational Literacy Program.
Help.
So my children went there for a while. They got tutored there.
Wow.
Yeah, because they
across the street from the HGB.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so you've seen her show, this content creator who she just does reaction videos to old VHSs.
Yeah.
They did the Dianetics one, and she did it with Doug, and I was like, I watched it on a replay. I missed the live.
And you're like, I shot that.
So no, I called Doug up. I sent him a message, and I messaged the girl, and we were going to all get together and talk about it, and then it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So. But I told her I love what they did.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
We should. I have a bunch of other videos too now too. At some point we might need to go through them, especially the ones that we did.
Yeah, no, for sure. Plus, if they're on VHS and you have a deck, I don't know. Do you have a deck?
I have a high 8 deck, a VHS deck, a VHC deck, Betacam, Digi-Betacam. I got them all, baby.
Because it's so great to see it in its analog form.
It is.
Yeah.
I had to convert. We had Claire and I had a wedding video that they did not give us. We had a VHS of our wedding that Scientology kept because it had people from the Ant base in the wedding. Right. So they never gave us the video. And then a relative of Claire's, I think it was her grandmother or an aunt or something, had a copy of the video because when it was made, we got a copy, but a bunch of other people got, and we ended up getting the copy, and we converted that.
Nice.
And I'm going to do a video.
Nice.
At some point, Claire and I will do a video.
Nice. I'd love to see that. That would be fantastic.
It is amazing.
Well, you know that Scientology, that Gold, probably has the best film restoration facility, literally on the planet.
Well, they have the manpower to scrub each film frame by frame digitally.
But they've also invested in some amazing equipment. Some of them I helped them to get, which
Yeah.
was stuff that was made for the like NSA that can read, the logo on a golf ball from outer space,
Yeah.
and as used to enhance. A lot of the reason they're so good is because all this stuff Hubbard shot is so horrible. But I have a 10-minute reel of 16 millimeter film that my father took because he was in the 50s.
Yeah.
He was a total camera fanatic. And I had this, and it was starting to go. It smelled like ammonia. And during lockdown, I hadn't left yet.
Yeah.
I sent it to Gold.
And had them transfer it for you?
They put it through the full battery.
Wow.
They handled the ammonia. They designated its own room so it wouldn't affect any of the other film, because that ammonia can leak out and ruin other film.
Yeah.
They scanned high res, like probably 4K res, every frame onto a TIFF.
Wow. And then they just made that into an image file.
And then cleaned up every frame and then reassembled it and sent me everything, the TIFFs, the original scan, the final cleaned up. I have the most, and it's me like at 10 years old, right? So in my family. So it's pretty amazing. I worked for this organization for 30 goddamn years, and all I got was my home movies.
12-minute movie transfer.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. That was kind of a long.
No, that's awesome.
Go ahead.
Jean-Marie Pollock, thank you for the super chat. Japan of Green Gables. Hey, Japan of Green Gables. Question, Mitch, did you make the Dianetics video that Claire was in? Claire is in that how-to video. There's just a picture of her.
Yeah, just for clarification's sake, I did every Dianetics video. And Mark worked on most of them.
Yep. Japan of Green Gables again. Question, what exactly is the relationship between courses and auditing? Do you want to answer that, Mitch?
I mean, I can. It's like every auditing level has a corresponding course where you learn to deliver that auditing level. So that would be the sort of core, I guess you'd say, of Scientology, what they call technology, right?
Yeah.
Which also means BS, but that would be the core of that. And then there's a bunch of other courses where you learn to do things, maybe administrative things or whatever, But yeah, that the relationship is, if you want to audit, you got to take a specific course.
Yeah.
And then you can only audit up to that level once you.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You can't audit past the level that you're trained on. So if you want to be an auditor and get better as an auditor, then you have to train higher. And if you want to do counseling, they usually suggest that you train at the same rate of your counseling, so you understand what the auditor's doing on his end. It'll help you on your end as the pre-clear or the pre-OT or the person being counseled.
Yeah, if you're brainwashed at the same level as the auditor, then your auditing is going to go a lot smoother.
Yeah,
for you and for them, because you're going to have less complaints about it.
Yeah,
but it's basically what that is.
Yeah. Again, one last one from Japan of Green Gables. Question, I should know this already, apologies, but Mark, was your post managing all of the technical dimensions of film production? I started out in manufacturing, and then when I left manufacturing, I went to be the quality control for all of manufacturing. And then from that, I went to the film crew. And then I became what was called the shoot crew chief. That's the Sea Org version of it. It's really kind of like it's a mix of a bunch of different posts, but it's really kind of like
mostly assistant director and production manager.
Exactly. Like a first assistant director, assistant director, production manager. Yeah. And then I became the pre-production director. So I was over all of pre-production. And then from that, I went to be the producer, and I was over all film, audio, manufacturing, all production. And then right before I GTFO'd, I was over the systems department, the audiovisual systems department, and over all of Scientology audiovisual systems internationally, which, to be fair, I had sort of dabbled in over all of my time at Golden Era Productions.
Yeah, you were a total gear freak the whole time you were there.
Yeah, I was a geek. I was a nerd.
For you going into systems, it was like, it's like putting a pig in shit. You're just
exactly. I was like, finally, the place I've been trying to get this entire time.
Yeah. Plus, the producer, I just have to say, it's just that job was made up by David Miscavige. That's not, it was never on any kind of org board or anything. There's no, he made that up because that was the most hot seat producer, the hot seat post. I'm
Yeah.
surprised you survived it. I got on it. It was only because they needed somebody in systems so badly, and you were so good at that you meant,
Yeah.
because think about, there was not always a producer. Like there's always
Yeah.
a director but it would be intermittent, right? Think about the other guys that were producer before you.
Oh yeah.
They're all like they're just a smear on the ground somewhere.
Well, almost every single systems producer either went to the RPF or they blew the Sea Org,
Right.
and every single producer blew the Sea Org or they went
Yeah.
to the RPF. Every
Yeah.
single one,
Yeah.
to a one. There was not one person that was promoted off of either of those posts in the history
Yeah.
of the post.
When you became the producer, I was like, bye bye, Mark.
I know,
So,
that's the way it is. I was literally dragging my feet all the way. And even when before I was the producer, I was the assistant producer. And if you remember, Eric Geisler was the producer. And he
wow, I
blew the
forgot
Sea
that.
Org from the producer post. He blew
Whoa.
from that post. But when I was the assistant producer, they were like, well, you're the producer now. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm still the assistant producer. They were like, you can't be the assistant producer if there's no producer. And I was just like, where does it say that? I don't know if that's a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like, okay, so for example, when you were the producer, we rarely ever interacted, even though you were over our films. The reason was we were kind of going pretty smoothly. So the producer was supposed to handle everything that wasn't going smoothly.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it was such a hot seat job. Plus
Yeah.
you had the film division and you had the audio division. And that's just a lot, man.
And you
There's
also have David
like,
Miscavige nitpicking
yeah,
everything that those guys do. So it's not like everything's going to run smoothly.
yeah,
He's
and then
going to find something to light up.
and then you have all of his ankle biters
Yeah.
that are just chewing your ankles like 24/7.
Goodness. Yeah. The good old days.
Yeah.
Denver Stevo says you just got a $3,000 juicer
Oh yeah,
too, Mitch.
that's true. Oh, and you know what else? Mark?
Yeah.
You didn't see this. You know about this. You were
Yeah.
there. Do you remember? Do I still have this thing here? Yeah. Do you remember when we finished the tech films the first time? Oh no, that's not the picture I want.
Oh.
That's Rachel Hastings. She ran a 20-foot jib arm at the big the Steamies, the streaming awards.
Yeah.
The night after the event, she was at a sold out venue at the Kodak Theater running a 20-foot jib. Here, I can show you the picture.
Okay.
Let me just put it up again.
Yeah.
Oh damn. Now all of a sudden I'm having like performance anxiety. No, I got it. Here it is right here. Yeah, it's funny. We'll show it. Yeah, because there she is. She sends it to me. This is the night after the New Year's event, and she's like, "This totally beats the shit out of working at the New Year's event." This is before the show. They hadn't filled it up yet. So here they are. They're giving like an award to like Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis for the worst apology video of the year. You know, it's all the streaming awards. And they fill the Kodak. Can you believe that, Mark?
Wow.
They do it's this show. I don't remember the name of it. It's the biggest channel on YouTube that did this. And she was actually shooting a live streaming YouTube show.
Wow. So, yeah. Good for Rachel.
Yeah, she works a lot. I haven't been able to do anything with her because
nice. Another good example, guys, of somebody who left and is doing well.
Yeah, she's doing great. She has a wonderful wife. But I also got this, Mark. You can put that up.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You were there when I got this chair. You were there when we finished the tech films.
Yeah, that's in your studio. You still have that?
Yeah.
That's the nicest director chair I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, guess what?
Life.
I saw the last time I looked. This is an Hermes Pippa chair. The last time I looked, it was worth $8,000.
Oh my god, that's rent right there. That's 2 months of rent for you.
No, but I'm going to sell it. Yeah, yeah. No, it's a half a month's rent. You know,
I was going to say that might even pay the electric bill in L.A.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can the all leather ones. They're still on the Hermes website. The ones this is canvas and pigskin trim. The all pigskin ones are $21,000.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. But so when you do an audiobook, you know this because you did one. You need a really quiet. You produce your own, right?
Yep.
I
I recorded it in my bedroom.
Did you? Yeah, I listened to it. I didn't read your book. I listened to it, and it was really terrific. I loved your book, and I loved
Thank
your
you.
reading, man. It was like you self-directed that,
I
didn't
did.
you?
I did voices, and I would
Oh
switch
man,
characters, and
no, you did. You did really
I
good.
really tried. I really tried.
Yeah, you're kind of, as we say, you're my art series 8.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing some stuff on art, but Hubbard had this thing that you should find an example of the thing you're trying to do. So
Yes. And
Mark,
then you should pattern whatever you're doing off of the good things about that
yeah,
thing.
like figure out how they did it so you can figure out. So that's why I talked to Mark about this. But anyway, yeah, so I have you go through all the advice, like how do I do an audiobook? One of the things you have to do, you have to find a comfortable chair that you can sit in for some hours a day that's not squeaky. You don't want a chair with wheels, right?
Yep.
So I start going through all the chairs in my house, and and this one I don't hardly sit. I moved this chair into a bedroom, a spare bedroom, because when my dog was a puppy, he would have chewed this down to a
Oh,
toothpick.
yeah.
Yeah, he would have gone. He would have, and this is an $8,000 chair.
Resale value goes real quick when your dog starts chewing on the legs. You got to put Tabasco or
No. I
Cholula.
just put it in a room. I put it away, so I hadn't sat in it in years. And I thought, what about the Hermes chair? So I sat in it, and I went, whoa, it's really comfortable.
And if it was supposed to be a director chair, probably is going to be pretty quiet.
Yeah, no, it's very quiet. It wasn't supposed to, it's not a director's chair. It's what's called a Roman campaign chair. It's based on a Roman, this design goes back to Rome.
And that's the ones they bring with them. And then when they set up camp somewhere, they pop it out and they
and unfold it. And it's I forget Hermes on their website. It's part of their luxury travel, like we're going to go have a picnic out by the lake, and we're going to carry all this, this, you can buy a footrest for this, like, a little, like an ottoman type thing for, I don't know, another like
probably 4K.
Yeah, another at least. I mean, look,
footstool.
Yeah, look, just okay, since we're on the subject, I'm gonna put this
up. Oh my God, he's got it ready here.
Yeah.
Holy, that's new?
Yeah, that's new. Well, this one, mine, if you notice, is canvas, which I really like. So that makes it more like a director's chair. This is the all pigskin. And
oh my God.
So this is pigskin and what's called pear wood from a pear tree. The finish, they call it piano finish, which means it's finished as fine as a grand piano. And then it has little brass fittings on it. So the quality is Hermes. The quality is like, it's out of control. And that chair you're looking at new is $21,000. And you're going to need at least 4. I was told by Greg Willier that they made like 25 of these, and some like Arab sheik bought 24 of them for a dining room table, and they had one left over. It's the reason they were able to get like one. That could be BS, because Miscavige, he liked to give gifts that he could brag about.
There was kind of a backstory.
Yeah, too. Like when they gave me that Steadicam, it was serial.
Oh my gosh.
It was serial number 3, and he says, who number 1 is never leaving the factory. Number 2, who that went to. That went to George Harrison.
Yeah.
And so it has to have this complete. And I always, later when I started looking at that, I bet that was just all bullshit.
Right. Yeah. There was a lot of folklore from Dave.
Yeah.
Okay. We're last few comments here, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay. We got Miss Amber Sunshine said, I'll buy Michelle a book if you send it to her, and I'll buy one for myself going to the store right after chat.
Yeah, I'll definitely send her. Hey, Michelle, let me, if you have a Kindle or I'm going to send you an EPUB, which you can load on a Kindle. You can load it Apple Books. You can put it on an
That's nice. Thank you, Miss Amber Sunshine. That's very generous.
Really, really sweet.
Okay, last one.
If you want to buy the chair, I'll sign it.
Yeah. I think you need to list that chair on another channel. You could go on Antiques Roadshow with that chair. Probably.
Yeah, no, there's places you could sell it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
For sure.
Love Foo Kitchen says, so pleased this series is back for another episode. These videos are amongst the most fun and interesting. Well, thank you, Foo Kitchen. Love Foo Kitchen.
Yeah, we were only taking a break. I mentioned this a couple of times because Mark was very busy working.
I know. I would literally have been to 4 states in the last 4 weeks that weren't Colorado. So it's been a lot. And And yeah, I'm back now for a little bit, and I do have a normal day job. So the only time I really can do this is when I'm, when I get home at night after dinner, and if I don't get home because I'm in another place, then I don't do anything because I'm not hauling this whole rig all over the country. But we do appreciate everybody that came and tuned in tonight. I'll put them up again just so you guys don't forget. And all of these links are in the description of the video. If you're watching on my channel, please like and subscribe. That helps out the channel. But if you're not watching on, if you're watching on Mitch's channel, or if you're watching on my channel and you don't know about Mitch's channel, you can check his out, and you can like and subscribe over on his channel as well. Then you'll get notifications.
I was also gone for yesterday. I had been gone for 9 days. I did something yesterday because I was getting ready to do the book, and then I had some dental surgery, and it just like, but it's great to be back, especially to do this with you. It's just
I appreciate you doing
Yeah.
these, Mitch. And we do have, I think this is number 9 of these.
Yeah.
And whenever we do, we didn't say this, but we covered 2 films. We covered EM10 and then EM10A, which is that drill film that they.
But if you wouldn't mind, I think let's just call it 26. Because it's 26, and then 2 of those are broken into drill films, but they'll get covered with the film. So
I think it's 3 actually. It's tone
3,
scale, E-meter reads.
Oh yeah, it's
PC
3.
Indicators.
3. Yeah, good. So, but let's just call it 26.
Sure.
Yeah, 26 films, of which we've done 9. So you guys can do the math.
Yeah, I'm not a scientist or a mathematician or anything, but we're about a third of the way through. If you
exactly. Yeah, and you didn't even need a calculator to do that. I'm impressed. So.
I should get a calculator sound effect for my.
Yeah, you should.
For my something down there.
I got my father's slide rules. He was an architect, so I could always fake that, like I'm doing a slide rule.
Oh, and before I forget, we do have Zeno is my homeboy and tons of other amazing merch on the Blown for Good store. We also have books, Blown for Good books, and we have Fake Navy. We still have some Fake Navy dolls left. If you're still trying to get them for Christmas, I don't know if you got a lot of time, unless you're really close. But we're gonna keep selling Fake Navy dolls, Navy Davy dolls, and bobbleheads and SP bracelets and all that stuff. And
but if you miss Christmas for the Fake Navy, I mean, you still plenty of time to have them over for New Year's.
Sure.
And who else? Who more would you want at New Year's?
Exactly. Yeah. To be able to, we have them. One of them is called the Damn It Davy doll, and you can just smack it against stuff. It's like a stress
or
ball.
you can pose it with champagne bottles and glasses, and
that's true.
And put like a party hat on it, and we can have it at a. That can be very cool.
Nice. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for everybody who made it to the very end of this. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks,
We'll be
Mitch.
back. Yeah.
Till next time, guys.
You bet.